Brian was a player. Everyone in our circle knew he had 3 rules when dating. No girls who were too good, no girls who were too clingy, and definitely not me. When people asked why, he'd casually put out his cigarette and say, "I've watched her grow up since we were kids. I care about her like a little sister. What would I become if I dated her? Well, if you don't want her, can I go after her?" He'd laugh. "She's too stubborn. It's me or no one. She won't say yes to you." But this time, he was wrong. When I overheard this conversation, Ryan and I hadn't been in contact for a long time. Over the years, we developed an unspoken understanding. When he was dating someone, we absolutely wouldn't have any contact. After all, everyone knew I liked him. We had to avoid any misunderstandings. He was afraid his girlfriends would get upset. I stood there stunned, going to breathe. It took me a while to realize I'd been openly in love with him for 5 years. I checked my phone. Our last conversation was 2 months ago. I texted, "Hey, I'm outside your place. Brought you some pastries I made. When will you be back?" He'd sent a voice message only 2 seconds long. In his usual tone, steady, breezy, cool. He never came back. I stood outside as it started pouring rain. I wouldn't give up, sending him over 10 messages and calling several times. No response. I panicked, worried something had happened to him on the road. Just as I was about to call his assistant, I saw a social media post from my college roommate. Her name was Jessica. We'd fought freshman year. Since then, we couldn't stand each other and barely spoke. After graduation, we never talked at all. She had no idea I knew the famous Ryan Williams of North City. She posted, finally holding his hand. The photo showed 2 hands clasped together, taken inside a car. I recognized that car. I also recognized the pillow she was leaning against. I put it there myself. I knew that hand, too. There was a tiny mole on the index finger. It was Ryan's. Jessica was beautiful and bright. Exactly Ryan's type. It wasn't surprising they'd met and gotten together. But I still couldn't help wondering why his girlfriends changed like a revolving door. Why couldn't it be me? Was I that terrible? Those messages I'd sent him, he never replied. That was our last contact. After they started dating, Jessica posted about Ryan every day. She said he was genuine, present, wealthy, and gave her everything she wanted. He'd pick her up from work, carry her bags, like all her photos. He looked patient and caring. He'd track her period, text her reminders to avoid cold foods. When she'd reply with an emoji, he'd send one back. More than that, no matter how busy he was, if she needed something, he was always available. After a while, I became numb to it. I even found myself comparing. He was definitely more attentive to Jessica than his previous girlfriends, and they'd lasted longer, too. This feeling continued until today when I stood outside this private room and felt something snap in my mind. So he really did see me as just a little sister. I suddenly thought maybe I didn't have to have Ryan after all. I looked at the closed door in front of me. Then I looked down and removed Ryan from my pinned conversations. My friend walked over from nearby, spotting me. "I've been looking everywhere for you. Where did you disappear to?" I smiled, "Just took a phone call. Let's go." My friend didn't ask more questions and walked with me. She gossiped as we walked. "I just ran into the manager here. He said some big shot is celebrating his girlfriend's birthday today. So jealous." I nodded, my voice calm. "Yeah, so jealous though. Come to think of it, he'd celebrated my birthday before, too. Booked the best venue in North City. Sent invitations everywhere. Spent almost 7 figures in one day. Did you say he wasn't thoughtful?" "No. But he only saw me as a little sister." After deciding to give up on Ryan, when I saw Jessica's lovey-dovey posts, I could scroll past them without changing expression, until I ran into them at the mall. Ryan was helping Jessica pick out a ring. After choosing one, he put his arm around her waist, his tone casual. "Come here, let me put it on you." Jessica nodded with a bright smile. "Okay." Watching this scene, I suddenly remembered how other girls had wanted Ryan to buy them rings before, but he'd always say coldly, "Some things aren't for you to fantasize about. You know that, right? Let's break up." It seemed he really was ready to settle down for Jessica. I pressed my lips together and was about to turn away when I heard Jessica ask another question. "By the way, I heard people say that girl likes you." Ryan paused, frowning. "Who's been gossiping to you? Don't misunderstand. I don't have those feelings for her." Jessica laughed a couple times, then took out her phone and scrolled through it. "I'm not trying to interrogate you. I just wanted to ask, is the girl, you know, the one who looks like this?" Ryan glanced at it. He raised an eyebrow, surprised. "How do you have her photo?" "Oh, we were college roommates. We're all friends, so maybe we can take her out to dinner sometime." If I didn't know Jessica's true nature, I would have thought she was defending me right now. But I knew better. Taking me to dinner was fake. Wanting to humiliate me was the real goal. Ryan made a sound. Sure, whatever you want. Then 2 minutes later, I got a text from him. Just a question mark. This was the first message he'd sent me in 2 months. Before, it was always like this. No matter what he sent, I'd rack my brains trying to find topics to talk about. But this time, looking at the chat screen on my phone, I instinctively typed 2 lines, then calmly deleted them word by word. I told myself, forget it. There's nothing worth replying to. But I didn't expect that same night I'd run into him face to face. The guy who told Ryan he wanted to pursue me was named Jake. I wasn't really familiar with him. We'd only talked a few times, but somehow he got my contact info. He actually called me saying he wanted to take me to a movie. Come on, give me a chance. I remember, right? You really like the male lead in this one. I did like him. In high school, I had posters and postcards of this actor all over my room. Ryan had seen them once when he came to visit. That same night, he tattled to my mom saying I wasn't focusing on my studies. He couldn't understand. Is he better looking than me? Your taste is really bad. Thinking about it now, my taste really was questionable for liking him so long. I held my phone for a while before speaking. Okay, send me the time and place. Honestly though, I'd never imagined Jake would want to pursue me. Since childhood, he'd been that other people's kid. Never dated, excellent grades, undoubtedly a golden boy. At the movie theater, Jake went to buy drinks while I went in alone first. But what a coincidence. Sitting right next to me were Ryan and Jessica. The moment she saw me, Jessica looked at Ryan, surprised. What's she doing here? Did you invite her? You should have told me. I haven't seen her in ages. You could have reminded me to prepare a gift for her. She said this very graciously and politely, but Ryan's expression darkened. He looked up at me. I have a girlfriend, he reminded me. I nodded. I know. I didn't just know. I'd witnessed your whole love story through your girlfriend's social media posts. And why are you here? He took out his phone and scrolled through his contacts. Leave the theater now. I'll have my assistant pick you up. Go wait outside. He's pretty far away. Probably won't get here for half an hour. I was speechless. So you want me to wait outside for half an hour? What else? Everyone knows how you feel about me. If you keep following me around, my girlfriend will get the wrong idea. The cinema lights dimmed and I stood there frozen, watching Ryan's face harden into an expression I'd seen 1,000 times before. That cold, dismissive look he gave everyone who wasn't worth his time. I'd just never been on the receiving end of it. Leave the theater now, he repeated, his voice low and final. I'll have my assistant pick you up. Jessica nestled closer to him, her manicured fingers playing with the sleeve of his jacket. She smiled at me, that perfect practiced smile she'd perfected in college whenever she wanted to make someone feel small. Ryan, don't be so harsh, she said sweetly. She probably didn't even know we'd be here, right? She tilted her head at me, blinking those long lashes. Ryan's jaw tightened. She shouldn't be here regardless. I looked at the two of them. Jessica's designer bag, Ryan's watch that costs more than my annual rent. The way they fit together like two puzzle pieces made of the same cold marble. Something inside me that had been straining for 5 years finally snapped. You know what? I said, and my voice came out steadier than I felt. You're right. I shouldn't be here. I turned and walked up the aisle, not running, not crying, just walking. Behind me, I heard Jessica's soft laugh, and Ryan murmured something I couldn't make out. Jake was just returning from the concession stand. 2 sodas in hand and popcorn balanced on his arm. He saw my face and stopped. Hey, what happened? Nothing, I said. Can we sit somewhere else? Different row. He didn't ask questions. He just nodded, shifted the popcorn, and followed me to the back corner of the theater, 3 rows behind where Ryan and Jessica sat. I could still see the back of Ryan's head. The way Jessica kept leaning over to whisper in his ear. The way his shoulders relaxed under her touch. The movie started. I didn't watch a single frame. Jake didn't try to talk to me. He just sat there, occasionally glancing over. And at one point, maybe 40 minutes in, he reached over and gently took my hand. I let him hold it, not because I felt anything, but because I was too numb to pull away. The movie ended. The lights came up. I quickly pulled my hand from Jake, suddenly self-conscious. Sorry, I muttered. Don't apologize, Jake said easily. He stood, stretched, and offered me a genuine smile. Tough night? Something like that. We walked out together, and I deliberately kept my eyes forward, not checking to see where Ryan and Jessica had gone. In the lobby, Jake paused. Want to get coffee, or something stronger? I almost said no. Almost made an excuse and fled back to my apartment to curl up in bed and replay every humiliating moment of the last 5 years. But then I thought about Ryan's face. The way he'd looked at me like I was a problem to be solved. A pest to be removed. No, I said. Let's get that drink. We found a quiet bar 2 blocks from the theater. Dim lighting, vinyl booths. The kind of place where nobody looked too hard at anyone else. Jake ordered whiskey for both of us. Okay, he said, leaning back. Want to tell me what happened in there, or do you want to pretend I didn't see anything? I swirled my glass, watching the amber liquid catch the light. You know Ryan Williams? Everyone knows Ryan Williams. Jake's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes sharpened. North City's golden boy, real estate, investments, that whole thing. I've been in love with him for 5 years. Jake didn't flinch, didn't laugh, didn't even look surprised. I know, he said quietly. I blinked. You know? Everyone in our circle knows, has known for years. He took a sip of his drink. The guy sitting 3 rows ahead of us with the beautiful girlfriend. That's who you were looking at the whole time, wasn't it? I wanted to deny it. I wanted to pretend I'd been watching the screen like everyone else, but what was the point? Yeah, I admitted. That's him. And the girl, Jessica, my college roommate, the one who I stopped, shook my head. Doesn't matter. They're together now. They've been together for months. I'm tired, Jake. I'm so tired of wanting someone who looks at me like I'm his little sister. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached across the table and covered my hand with his. Then stop, he said simply. Stop wanting him. It's not that easy. Sure it is. He squeezed my fingers. You just decide. Every day, every hour, every minute. You decide not to want him anymore. And eventually, your heart gets the message. I stared at him. That's very philosophical for a guy I've only talked to 4 times. He laughed, a real laugh, warm and unguarded. Maybe I've been rehearsing it for when I finally got a chance to take you out. The whiskey was warm in my chest, loosening something tight and painful that had been there for years. You barely know me, I said. I know I like you, he replied. I know you're funny and smart, and you don't take yourself too seriously. I know you baked pastries that everyone talks about for weeks. I know you made Ryan Williams carry your backpack in high school because you said it was too heavy and he actually did it. My breath caught. How do you know that? Because I was there. Different school, but my cousin went to yours. He told me about the girl who made the rich kid her personal pack mule. Jake grinned. I thought you sounded interesting back then. I still do. I didn't know what to say. Nobody had ever said things like this to me. Not about me. Not in a way that felt real. I'm a mess, I finally said. That's okay. Jake finished his drink and signaled for another round. I'm patient. We stayed at the bar until nearly midnight, talking about nothing and everything. Jake told me about his work, something in tech that I only half understood, and I told him about my bakery job and the dream of opening my own place someday. He walked me home, hands in his pockets, not trying to hold my hand or kiss me goodnight. At my door, he just smiled. Same time tomorrow? I have work. Then after work? I hesitated. Then, for reasons I couldn't quite explain, I nodded. Yeah, okay. He left and I went inside, locked the door, and leaned against it with my eyes closed. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, half expecting, half dreading a message from Ryan. It was Jessica. Hey girl. So fun running into you tonight. Can't believe we haven't caught up properly. Coffee sometime. Red heart. I stared at the screen. 3 little dots appeared then disappeared. Then appeared again. Ryan says hi, by the way. He's so sweet. Just wanted to make sure you got home safe. Right. Because Ryan had never, not once in 5 years, asked if I'd gotten home safe. Not after late nights, not after parties, not after anything. I typed back a short response. Got home fine. Thanks. Then I opened Jessica's Instagram, something I'd sworn I would stop doing. And there it was, a new post less than an hour old. A photo of Ryan's profile, half in shadow. The warm lighting of some expensive restaurant casting gold across his features. The caption read, "Date night with my favorite person." He booked out the whole place just for us. I'm so spoiled. 27 comments in the first minute. Hearts, fire emojis, relationship goals. I locked my phone and threw it onto the couch. Then I went to the bathroom, looked at my reflection in the mirror, and said out loud, "You are going to stop looking at her posts. You are going to stop waiting for him to text. You are going to live your own life." My reflection looked unconvinced. 3 days passed. 3 days of not checking Jessica's Instagram. 3 days of not rereading old conversations with Ryan. 3 days of Jake picking me up after work, taking me to dinner, making me laugh at stupid jokes. 3 days of me waiting for the other shoe to drop. On the 4th day, it did. I was at work frosting a batch of cupcakes for a wedding order when my phone buzzed. I glanced at it expecting Jake's daily "How's your day going?" It wasn't Jake. "You free tonight?" Ryan. My heart did something stupid, lurched, stuttered, flipped over in my chest like a dying fish. I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I put the phone down, finished frosting the cupcakes, and washed my hands. I made myself a cup of tea. I counted to 100. Then I picked up the phone again. "What for?" I typed. His response came almost immediately. "Want to talk? Something about you and Jake?" I frowned. "What about me and Jake?" "We've been on exactly 4 dates, very casual, entirely uncommitted dates. The last one had ended with Jake kissing my forehead and telling me to sleep well. What about us? Just come. My place. 8 p.m. Not a question, an order. The old me would have dropped everything. Would have changed clothes 3 times. Reapplied makeup twice. Shown up early with pastries and hope. The new me, the one who'd been practicing deciding not to want him, typed back, "Busy tonight. Can't." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, "Fine. Tomorrow. 7, I didn't respond. An hour later, another message. "Tomorrow. 7 o'clock, don't be late." I still didn't respond. At 7:30, my phone rang. Ryan's name lit up the screen. I let it go to voicemail. At 8:15, a single text. "This isn't like you." No, it wasn't. The old me would have been there with bells on. The old me would have been grateful for any crumb of attention he deigned to throw my way. But I was trying to be someone new. I didn't go the next day either, or the day after that. On the 3rd day, Jessica posted again, a photo of a bouquet of roses so large it needed its own table. The caption, "He says he's stressed about work. I say roses fix everything." I scrolled past it without stopping. That was progress. But on the 4th day, Ryan showed up at my bakery. I was behind the counter, apron dusted with flour, hair pulled back in a messy bun when the bell above the door jingled. I looked up with my automatic customer service smile. The smile died on my face. Ryan stood in the doorway, filling it the way he filled every room he entered. Tailored black coat, sharp jaw, eyes that miss nothing. He scanned the space, the pink walls, the glass display cases, the chalkboard menu I painted myself. And then his gaze landed on me. 5 days, he said. "You've ignored me for 5 days. The woman I was helping, a regular named Mrs. Chun, looked between us with open curiosity. "I'll give you a minute," Mrs. Chun said and scurried to the other side of the shop. I set down the pastry bag I'd been holding. "I'm working, Ryan. I can see that." He walked toward the counter, hands in his pockets, unhurried. "You look different." "I'm wearing an apron." "Not the apron." He tilted his head, studying me. "Something else." "You're not." He stopped, frowning slightly like he couldn't find the right word. "What do you want, Ryan?" He pulled out his phone, scrolled for a moment, and turned the screen toward me. It was a photo of me and Jake from last night. We'd been leaving a restaurant, and Jake had his hand on the small of my back. I was laughing at something he'd said. "Where did you get that?" "That doesn't matter." Ryan put the phone away. "What matters is that you're seeing him." "Jake?" "Yes, Jake. The guy who told me he wanted to pursue you." Ryan's voice had gone low, controlled. "The guy I said wouldn't have a chance." Something cold settled in my stomach. "You told him he didn't have a chance because you've been in love with me for 5 years." Ryan said it like it was a fact. "Like the weather. Everyone knows." "You know, I know. And yet you're here," I said slowly, "in my bakery, telling me who I can and can't see." "I'm not telling you anything. I'm asking." He stopped, ran a hand through his hair. It was a gesture I'd seen him make 100 times, usually when something was bothering him that he couldn't control. "You're asking what?" "I'm asking if you're serious about him." I stared at him. The man I'd loved for half a decade. The man who dated a revolving door of beautiful women while I stood on the sidelines waiting, hoping, praying he'd finally see me. "Why do you care?" Ryan was quiet for a long moment. The bakery's ambient music, some soft jazz playlist, filled the silence. "Because you're important to me," he finally said. "Not like that, but you've always been there. And if you're going to throw that away for some guy you barely know." "Throw what away exactly?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. "What have you ever given me, Ryan? What have we ever had?" His eyes widened slightly. I'd never spoken to him like this before. I'd always been soft, accommodating, endlessly understanding. "We have," he stopped, looked lost for the first time since I'd known him. "We have our history, growing up together. You know me better than anyone." "Do I?" I leaned against the counter, suddenly exhausted. "Because I thought I did. I thought I knew that you didn't date girls who were too good or too clingy or definitely not me. I thought I knew you watched out for me like a little sister." Ryan was quiet. The bakery's soft jazz kept playing. Mrs. June had relocated herself to the far corner with elaborate casualness, pretending to study the chalkboard menu she'd read 50 times. "That's not what I meant," Ryan said. "When I said that." "Which part?" My voice was steady in a way it had never been with him before. "The part where you told people it was you or no one for me? Or the part where you said I was like a little sister to you?" His jaw moved. I was trying to protect you. From what? Other people? Or from ever actually being wanted? Something shifted in his face. He wasn't used to being spoken to this way. Not by me. In 5 years I'd never once said the thing I actually meant. I'd translated everything into softer versions, quieter versions, versions that wouldn't make him uncomfortable. I was done translating. You didn't protect me, Ryan. You kept me available. I said it without raising my voice. You didn't want me. But you didn't want anyone else to have me either. You liked knowing I would answer whenever you texted. You liked knowing there was someone who loved you without asking for anything back. That wasn't care. That was convenience. That's not. He stopped. Tried again. You're different from other girls. You always have been. What does that mean? It means you matter to me. It means this matters. He gestured between us, the gesture he used when he couldn't find words and needed something physical to land the weight of what he felt. We grew up together. You know things about me nobody else knows. That's not nothing. History is not love, I said. It's just time. He stared at me. I watched it land. The way certain things land, not with noise, but with a kind of settling, like something heavy dropped into still water. You've been thinking about this for a while, he said finally. I've had 5 years. He looked around the bakery. At the pink walls and the glass cases and the chalkboard I'd painted by hand. He looked at it the way people look at things they've never noticed before when they realize they probably should have. I'll ring Mrs. June up, I said. And then I need to finish the wedding order. Can we just, Ryan? I picked up the pastry bag I'd set down. There's nothing to talk about. You've always known how I felt. You chose what to do with that information for 5 years. I'm choosing now too. He stood there a moment longer. Then he left. The bell above the door chimed. Mrs. June reappeared immediately. Goodness, she said, sliding her tray toward the register. He's very handsome. He is, I agreed, and started ringing her up. Jake came by after closing that night. He didn't ask how the day was in the way people ask when they actually want to know if something specific happened. He just knocked on the glass after I'd flipped the sign, held up 2 coffee cups, and raised his eyebrows. I unlocked the door. We sat on the counter and drank coffee while I counted the register, and he told me about a meeting that had gone sideways in a way that was funny in retrospect, and I laughed at the right parts without having to think about it. At some point he noticed my face. He came in today, didn't he? Yes. How was it? Different, I said. I said things I've needed to say for a long time. I set down the cash. He didn't like it. Jake nodded. He didn't push for details, didn't ask what things or what Ryan had said back. He trusted me to tell him what I wanted to tell him. You okay? Yeah. I was surprised to realize I meant it. I think I actually am. He reached over and stole the last bite of the croissant I'd been picking at, which should have been annoying but wasn't. I found a storefront today, he said, while I was supposed to be in a meeting. 3 blocks from here. Good foot traffic. The lease is reasonable. I looked at him. For the bakery, he said. The one you want to open. He took out his phone and showed me the listing, turning the screen so I could see. I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying the option exists and it's a good space. I've walked past it 5 times. I looked at the photos. Wide windows. High ceilings. The kind of light that comes through when the afternoon hits at the right angle. You walked past it 5 times. I was in the neighborhood a lot. Your office is on the other side of the city. I was in the neighborhood a lot, he repeated, entirely straight-faced. I laughed. He looked pleased with himself. I'll think about it, I said. That's all I'm saying. Ryan's texts started coming more frequently after the bakery visit. Not desperate, at first they looked casual. A funny video he'd sent a month ago that I'd missed. A question about a restaurant near my neighborhood, asking if I'd been. A one-line message at 11 p.m. that just said still awake? I answered some of them. Not all. The difference was that I wasn't measuring the gaps between his texts anymore. I wasn't wondering what they meant or reading them in a hopeful register. He texted, sometimes I responded, I kept living. What I couldn't ignore was when he showed up at a dinner with mutual friends, the kind of overlapping social circle dinner that was inevitable in North City, and spent most of it watching me talk to other people. He hadn't used to do that. Or maybe he had and I'd been too busy watching him to notice. I was mid-story about a disastrous fondant experience at the bakery when I felt his gaze settle on me like a hand on my shoulder. I kept talking. I didn't look over. Later, when people were gathering coats, he appeared at my elbow. You look good, he said quietly. Thanks. You seem, he searched for the word. Rested. I looked at him. You say that like it's surprising. You were always tired before. He meant it as something kind. He didn't understand that he was the reason for the tired. I picked up my bag. Good night, Ryan. The next time Jake warned me about something, he did it the way he did everything, without drama, just direct. Ryan's been asking Marcus about me, he said. Nothing aggressive. Just asking questions. We were walking back from the storefront I'd gone to look at, the one he'd mentioned. The windows really were extraordinary. I know, I said. I'm sorry. Don't apologize for him. He said it simply, not unkindly. I'm not worried. I just thought you should know. I looked at the sidewalk. He doesn't like that I'm not waiting anymore. Of course he doesn't. Jake's voice was even. He thought you belonged to him. Not because he'd chosen you. Just because you were always there. I gave him that. You gave him loyalty. He used it wrong. He paused. That's not yours to apologize for. I stopped walking. He stopped too, turned back to look at me. You're very sure about things, I said. No, he said. I'm very sure about you. Everything else I figure out as I go. The confrontation with Jessica happened at a birthday dinner for a mutual friend. It was the kind of party where everyone was dressed up and the venue was beautiful, and underneath all of it the social machinery of a specific kind of wealthy social circle was humming along, processing alliances and status and history. Ryan and Jessica arrived together. She looked stunning. He looked like someone running on a low charge. I'd come with Jake. Jessica found me near the dessert table within 20 minutes, which told me she'd been watching for me. Oh, it's so good to see you properly. She smiled the way she'd smiled in college when she wanted something. All warmth on the surface. How have you been? Work is good? The bakery seems to be doing well. Really well, thank you. And Jake? She glanced over at him, currently deep in conversation with someone across the room. He seems sweet. You two are such a sweet match. There it was. It's so nice that you're finally moving on. Her voice was gentle in the specific way that wasn't. Everyone could see how hard things were for you. After, well, you know, Ryan. The room was alive around us, but the 3 or 4 people nearby had gone quiet in that way people go quiet when they sense something is happening. Jake must be very patient, she continued, with that practiced smile, to date someone still getting over someone else. That's admirable, really. I opened my mouth. Ryan got there first. He appeared beside me in a way I hadn't anticipated, not to be the hero, I could see that in his face. He looked like a man paying a debt he'd owed for a long time. Enough, Jessica. She turned to him, surprised. She didn't chase me, he said. His voice was controlled but not cold. Just, tired of lying. I let her wait. I knew exactly how she felt and I used it because I thought she would always be there. The only person who should be embarrassed here is me. The nearby conversations had stopped entirely. Jessica's smile stayed in place for exactly 2 seconds before it didn't. Ryan, she was loyal to me for 5 years while I kept my options open. Don't talk to her like she was pathetic for it. He looked at her steadily. That loyalty deserved better than what I gave it. The room was completely quiet. Jake appeared beside me. Not rushing. Not making a scene. He simply materialized at my elbow and looked at Jessica very calmly. Loving someone for a long time doesn't make her pathetic, he said. Treating that love like entertainment does. Jessica looked between the two of them. Then she picked up her champagne and walked away. The room exhaled. Ryan looked at me. What was in his face wasn't hope, or maybe it was, but it was the kind that already knew the answer. I'm sorry, he said. I know, I said. That matters. It just doesn't change anything. I turned and went to find our friends. 3 weeks later, Ryan came to the bakery after closing. I saw him through the glass before I unlocked the door. He wasn't dressed up. He looked like someone who'd come from wherever he'd been without planning to end up here. I let him in. He stood and looked at the space. At the handwritten recipe cards I'd tacked to the wall for ambience. At the little chalkboard sign above the counter that listed the day's specials in my handwriting. At the photo next to the register, me and my grandmother, flour on both our faces, laughing at something off camera. He'd known my grandmother. He'd eaten her baking every Sunday for years. She'd have liked this, he said. She would have. I wiped down the last table. She'd have told you her croissants were better, though. A small sound that was almost a laugh. He stood with his hands in his pockets. Looking at the recipe cards. I watched him see them, see what they were, the evidence of something consistent and quiet and built over years. Every time you loved me, he said, I thought you'd still be there tomorrow. His voice was flat with something that wasn't quite emotion but was close to it. I thought I had time. I always thought I had time. I straightened up and looked at him. I thought you were mine without ever making you mine, he said. I didn't know what I had until you stopped giving it to me. I let that sit where it belonged. You were my habit before you were my heartbreak, I said. I confused being used to you with loving you. I confused your attention, even the kind that came with conditions, with being cared for. I set the cloth down. I'm done mistaking pain for loyalty. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded. Just once. The nod of someone who has understood something that cannot be undone, and is not asking for it to be undone, just sitting in the understanding of it. He left without saying anything else. I stood in the quiet bakery and waited for something to break, for grief to move through me the way it always had when Ryan left. For the old reflex to kick in, the one that wanted to call after him, to soften, to make it okay. Nothing came. Just quiet. And the soft jazz. And the smell of the day's baking still in the air. The storefront Jake had found was available the following spring. 3 blocks from the original bakery where I still worked. Wide windows that caught the afternoon light exactly the way I'd known they would. A kitchen that needed some work but had good bones. Jake helped with the renovation. He showed up on weekends with his sleeves rolled up and a complete absence of any investment-related strings. He helped sand down the counters and hung shelves and argued with me, once, extensively, about whether the mint green I'd chosen was mint green or seafoam. He maintained there was a difference, I maintained he was wrong. We were both certain enough about our positions that we went back to the hardware store twice. He was good with tools and patient with me, and he never once suggested his name belong anywhere on the lease. He invested some money because I let him, with a contract that his lawyer drafted and my lawyer reviewed, all above board, and at no point did he use the money to suggest I owed him anything except payments on schedule. He asked about my grandmother's recipes and I made him taste test everything, and he kept meticulous notes about which batches I liked and which I thought were almost right but not quite. He learned which days I didn't want to talk and which days I needed to. He learned I made better pastry when I was slightly worried about something and worse pastry when I was completely calm, which was a paradox we both found funny. He remembered, without being told, that I liked the radio low and not the playlist on shuffle. I stopped flinching when he was kind to me. That took longer than I expected and less long than I feared. The soft opening was on a Thursday in May. Jake had done something while I was doing inventory the morning before. When I came out from the back, there was a small wall between the register and the window that hadn't been there before. Framed, my grandmother's handwritten recipe for the croissants, a photo of me at 12 with flour on my face, a photo of the current storefront on the day we first walked through it with the lease, and a small printed sign that said the bakery's name in the font I'd spent 3 weeks choosing. I stood and looked at it for a long time. Someone should have treated your love like it was precious from the beginning, Jake said. He was standing in the doorway to the back kitchen, coffee in hand, watching my face. I turned around. Jake. Yeah. I love you, I said. Not dramatically. Not with all the weight of 5 years of wanting to say something like this to someone and knowing it was wrong. Just, the plain fact of it, standing in a bakery that was mine, in a life that was finally mine. He smiled. The real one, the warm unguarded one. I know, he said. I've been waiting for you to figure that out. That's very patient of you. I told you. I'm patient. I walked over and kissed him. He put the coffee down first, which was thoughtful, and then his arms came around me in the easy unhurried way of someone who intends to keep doing this for a long time. Outside, the Thursday morning went about its business. Ryan saw the opening through social media. A mutual friend posted about it, the soft pink walls, the pastry case, the line that had formed by 10 a.m. on opening day. I heard later from Marcus, who told me without editorializing, that Ryan had stood outside for a while and not come in. Through the window he would have seen the warm light, the full tables, the hand-lettered menu on the chalkboard, Jake behind the counter helping because we were understaffed and he'd come in anyway to carry boxes and ended up just staying. He would have seen me laughing at something across the room. Actually laughing, the full-face kind, not the performance of laughing that I'd done for years in social situations where I was really watching for Ryan's reactions. He didn't come in. I found out about it afterward and felt nothing sharp. Something softer. A kind of distant sadness for the version of things that had never existed, for the years that had moved in only one direction. Then I went back to the table I'd been at and sat down with the people who were actually in my life, and the afternoon continued. He found me once more. 3 months after the opening, outside the bakery when I was locking up. He didn't look bad, exactly. Just quieter than his usual version of himself. The particular quiet of someone who has made peace with something at great personal cost. Is there really no chance? He asked. No. He looked at the ground. Then up. Did you ever love him the way you loved me? I thought about it honestly, because he deserved the honest answer. No, I said. I love him differently. With you, love felt like begging. With Jake, it feels like coming home. He stood with that for a moment. Then, I told you it was me or no one. I thought I was right. You were wrong. Yeah. He exhaled slowly. I was wrong. He left. I stood outside the bakery and watched him go. He didn't look back. That was the last time I saw him as someone I still cared anything for, the last time his face meant something other than a person I used to know. I took out my keys. Went back inside to finish locking up. Jake texted while I was setting the alarm, leaving now. Dinner? Or are you tired? I smiled at my phone screen in the dark bakery. Dinner, I typed. I'll pick the place. You always pick the place. Yes. And you always pretend to be surprised. See you in 20. Ryan spent 5 years teaching me what it felt like not to be chosen. Jake only needed a few months to make me forget the lesson. Loving Ryan had felt like standing outside a door that kept moving, always almost in reach, never quite there, wearing myself down with the trying. Loving Jake felt like being handed the key. The cruelest revenge was not hurting Ryan. It was becoming happy in a life where he no longer mattered. For 5 years, I waited for Ryan to choose me. In the end, I chose myself, and Jake chose me too. That was more than enough. That was everything.